gives inventions to sounds, use instructions for lyrics. Layering of points of sound to create visuals when wearing 4 earbuds. Album composed of other albums, magnification of each song to create an album each. Words composed of words, sped up and slowed down. You can hear 3 voices at once, also. Mechanism of light built with screen and heat. A lens of heat created that creates another lens. Clear AR visor on hoodie hat fills reflecting cell phones with 4 earbuds, also creating visuals. Painting on food live, turning a bar into an escape room with the 360 YouTube videos being keys to be able to escape and unlock codes for the escape room. 3D WebGL/AR, 6 levels play at the same time, activating lucid dreams as monitor. The 360 YouTube videos have all the frames viewed at once for this choose your own adventure. Quantum Eraser Experiment U.S. Intelligence Collaboration at Fusion includes Dream Machine, an example of Dream Machines. So you'll be able to use a Dream Machine as like an element of the U.S. Intelligence Collaboration at Fusion Quantum Eraser Experiment, rewriting starlight waves to particles throughout time to the source. Which also I'm going to add in the next level build that allows you to travel to the next horizon and return for sync to any thought throughout time. The work also translates Mark's music, and I might add the ability for dogs to speak as part of a level. Interactive translation guide, multiplying diversified production of good immortalization. Successful line drive trucking app that helps us stay awake constructing lucid dreams as a monitor. Components that externalize your mind's consciousness build before your mind dies. I was just telling myself to do that. That was nice and really good. I gotta, really build that out and focus on that. Besides like flowering stuff, this varnish for things, spend a lot of time on varnish. Recently figured out how to scan the images that I sketch and translate those intricately into music. So, like previously sketched items, not live sketch. So previously sketched items can be turned into music by chopping up the grid, condensing those grids to points, and then feed that into the photo read to notes. So you take a sketch, you form it into, you chop it up in a grid, and then you form those to points, and then you layer those over musical notation, and then you read it into the sight read program. So you scan the image in, and then you use MODA, and then you scan use like MODA office automation, like office auto stuff to scan, to form it to musical notation, and then you scan music, and then you got it to play. So that's the this album. It's a 360 choose your own adventure. So this is me in hospital bed, like deathbed, and level lucid dream sequence used as a monitor. The mechanism of the level is underwater painting controlled by the audience, and the level itself is visual of me in like a deathbed, hospital bed. Copper box. Copper pipes or plates forming an office, completely RF shielded. I think I can go on, please. If I create an office completely composed out of copper, completely radio frequency shielded, only thing to get through that is is tapping. Like tapping would be able to communicate. Wouldn't have like any tapping is like a binary, and you can use it to activate packages of information. But yeah, I think that's probably the best move to sleep in a copper box and work in a copper box. I don't know, I'd like to try it. Copper pipes, I think they're alloy, that's why they're cheaper, but that might work. Not certain though. Plates are expensive. So, drastic price change between a whole pipe and a plate makes me think that the pipes are not actually 100% copper. That makes a difference though. Elongated clear plastic revolving door with magnets cutting internal wires of technologies by bending them at right angles. So I've had this idea for a very nice entrance to a building. I've actually built it out, like in a show and things, like composed out of people instead of actual magnets. It's a very intricate project. That allows the animation actually to be formed through the panels, because it will have several panels that change transparency as you're going through it, and that creates an animation with the changing of the door at the end. So a regular spinning door is like a circle, so this is elongated, so it's an oval, like the carousel baggage claim, except that would be like entrance to the place. This would be a really good security measure because you can use it to cut. You can use it with magnets to cut internal wires of technology by bending them at right angles. So say someone has like a hidden mic on them or something, and they're not or a camera. Run them through the revolving door a few times, and it bends the cords inside those microphones and cameras at right angles. It's kind of like when you don't have a pair of scissors to cut wire with, or wire clippers, if you bend it back and forth a million times at right angles, it cuts the wire. So that would be the same technology that would do that. But I don't you don't call that technology, but I guess it is now, right? So, five tasers used to fry a cell phone inside an animal. It's already, animal rights is like a thing, you know, like, it's already gonna be a deceased animal. I'm talking about torturing animals. Like an animal that I'm going to eat, you know, like a deer or a cow or something. Humans can handle up to 5 tasers at once. 5 tasers. And a cell phone, if you get hit at the right angle by a taser, it's done for. It's gotta get hit at the right angle or it won't do anything to it. You gotta get hit at the side. If you hit the face or the back, it's not gonna fly. So, I'm wondering if you hit the face with 5 different tasers or the back of it with 5 different tasers, no matter if you hit it at the right place, if it will fly. I'd really like to know is if you hit a cell phone that's actually inside of an animal with 5 tasers, does that disable the cell phone? That's very important for also for security. Magnet sculpture levitating motion containing external mind structures evolving symbol set, spectral signals, spectrums, scripts. So a gimmicky sculpture with levitating motions that contains the script of your externalized mind. And your portfolio's algorithms for productivity. And what composes you as your like spectral signal spectrum. So like also it can be a spectral signal spectrum, like shine a light on it and it creates like a holographic kind of thing. So it's a magnetic sculpture, so it has like levitating motions. And then it contains scripts with the writing. So like the images that you purchase are composed of your script that is your externalized mind. So like the code of like and your consciousness algorithm is like within this piece of paper. Because I mean it's just binary that we're dealing with when you externalize your mind. So that means you'll be able to copy that consciousness into a binary form and then use that as like you see on dollar bills and stuff now, where it is like an engraving where it looks like it's made of cursive writing. So in this form it will actually be writing. cards and actual writing. And it'll have directions for what you are doing, with your consciousness, and how to preserve your body and your brain. And so this is just like pushing the limits of what a still image is and can do, with just like a little more gimmick added to it. So you add a magnet to it. And it's really interesting, like, the niceness of, like, these little things add magnets and how they float. The original idea is to create, like, an all-seeing eye that, like a pyramid with an all-seeing eye, like a Freemason-based thing, but it doesn't have to be confined to that in sculpture. So this is the level of view of Earth, and allows you to control how long I'm on fire. The mechanism allows you to control how long I'm on fire, and you actually get to, like, strategize for yourself space broadcasts by arranging, dragging and dropping items. It's like cell phone things. This also describes the burial export to Antarctica route. It's all like that. This is the mechanism for this level. And the experience is Google Earth View. Whiskey shot magnets activating landscape under clear stress levels. So we got a chess set where the pieces are actually whiskey shots, like whiskey shot glasses. On the back, on the bottom of the whiskey shot glasses are magnets. And the chessboard was actually a clear chessboard, and it sits on top of a surrealistic landscape. And the chessboard squares can be used with the magnets to put them at different levels. So it kind of like gives your opponent like, oh, I'm thinking about using this until you put it at a different level. And then by changing the level, the height of the square with the magnet, you activate the landscape underneath it to do different things. It's a very Dungeon and Dragons-esque kind of thing. They don't really do this though. It's very kind of plain, straightforward. They don't really have too much of like a magnet activating things. Like it was Mousetrap or something. But this is the way I think that people would be really interested in a escape room That's the kind of thing. It really maximizes the experience of a show in a bar. Also, I like this as a purchase of, like, if you pre-purchase export to Antarctica, I like this as the thing that you get for what you purchased. You know, so you pay $500 for an export of yourself to Antarctica, and you get this chess set. Like, it's, you know, and this chess set is also capable of a lot more things. You know, I was thinking about making a timepiece like grandfather clock. I might still do that. I really like that idea. That for $500 you get this free thing that is also like what you're using to go to Antarctica. It's a tough one. You gotta have it cold. Because it's not really death. You know, it's not death when we pass anymore. We just throw people on the ground and block. You know, you got these refrigerators going all the time. Why don't you use them? You know, it's insane not to use the refrigerator. That's why I think Antarctica is a good idea, because you won't have to use the refrigerator. So, there's like a good way also to get folks interested is DNA and information time capsules for Antarctica. So you have DNA samples and information samples, you know, like brain scans, any kind of information really. And you take that to Antarctica to be preserved. And I like the idea of the route to Antarctica to be like a race or sea to Antarctica. Send the DNA info capsules to Antarctica with drones, which will surge interest before Russia and China beats us there. I kind of like that play, you know, race RC to Antarctica is like we're racing Russia and China to Antarctica. Because it's going to be used, and we need to be the ones who are there to settle it first. There's a lot of things we need to keep cold indefinitely, and a lot of things like ourselves that are still alive when our brains stop firing. They can still be used. Our brains can still be used when they're not firing, especially with modern technology. And especially if you use an instant freeze, you instantly preserve the brain. You know, it's obscene. It's seriously crazy. And then when people get closer, like, to their death, you know, I'm theorizing lately that the consciousness in the prefrontal cortex can be removed and built upon. I'll describe this stuff later, but when you're about to go, and you still have consciousness in the frontal cortex, that consciousness house can be used and built upon to have a set of consciousness that you can make sure that it's an exact copy of what you have going on already. And then you can, this is like a neural interface, is what they call the person. In the Arctic, polar bears are a problem. And wolves are a problem. protection with it. And the cheapest protection for that is just use a 12 gauge with brass shells, where you fill the shell full of powder. You use a spacer, and then you put a slug in there, and then you spacer cap it. It's like an elephant gun. It's like a homemade elephant gun. And that's the only way to take down a polar bear or not necessarily a wolf, but that's the only way to take down a polar bear in that kind of camouflage, because they have perfectly white coats, and you can't see in front of your face. You can't see the hands in front of your face. So if a polar bear's up on you, a little pistol ain't gonna do nothing. You're not gonna be able to stop them with a little pistol. Or even a big, the only thing you can do is have a chance to start off 12 gauge with an elephant round in there. The only way to get an elephant round, which is an affordable, the only way to have an affordable elephant round is 12 gauge brass shell. From what I can see, I don't know much about that kind of stuff, but I did a little bit of research, and that seems like that's the only way to stop a polar bear when it's up on you like that. But even at a distance, because they keep coming at you, nothing puts them down. They ain't gonna be running away. You just get angry. Especially if they're hungry like the polar bears are. It's an issue. Peace symbol continuously painted around the earth with aluminum you can use aluminum powder that emanates from time capsules dispersed, or it can actually be aluminum that algae consumes when passing through the water. Because algae consumes aluminum. It really likes aluminum for some reason. And so you can continuously paint a line around the United States, a line around the Earth with an aluminum algae, with aluminum as your hull. And you can extend the line with time capsules that you drop into the ocean along that path, decomposing. I'm not saying the line will be continuously sustained to form a peace symbol, but the act of painting it will happen. And there are ways to do that. You could disperse a bunch, but then by the time you completed the path, it would be so obscured it wouldn't be there anymore. So I guess that's you wouldn't be able to completely form a peace symbol from that method without using drones. It would just be really expensive to do that. But if we already had this drone race going on, it might be a feasible thing. So it is possible to do that. And that would be something, wouldn't it? That by racing Russia and China into Antarctica, that we created peace. Well, I mean, technically it could be, to create immortality, to really externalize minds and offer it to everybody, and no one has to die anymore. And all of a sudden, we're all just like infants, in the face of this thing. And that could create a world peace. Anyway, we gotta do Russia and China and Antarctica. There's all there is to it. Externalized mind horizon, then return before sent information, giving God omnipotence which neutralizes all externalize mind by stinting four areas of the brain, housing consciousness, into a mechanism composed of light, then use the quantum eraser experiment to sync the mechanism by rewriting in starlight waves particles to the source that is a new observer lens 18 billion years in the past and edge from our observable universe that then rearranges light, streamlining the information flow with fanning the information shields. Explore the new horizon for information about isolating evil and the location of the observer at the edge of that observable universe. Then, return before sent with input giving God omnipotence which neutralizes all. Use the firing synapse level to externalize consciousness. Then use the mechanism of light carpet level to upload your consciousness to a cell phone. Then use the universal time travel. Use the universal travel level to scan the next horizon for the observer and map out all evil in the universe and locate the new observer. Then return before sync with the time travel level to the present with info God needs to gain omnipotence to neutralize all evil. LCD screen with several layers, imitating texture, and improving glare. So, the screen is bigger than a normal screen. It has several layers, so they can, it's like the perfect kind of camouflage, you know, where like, light hits it, and when you perceive it, it like doesn't act like you're on screen. So, like it counters any kind of glare that would happen as a matte finish. And a depth. So you get layers of textures, not just a single layer, or like just camouflage. Spinning, strobe, animation, sculpture suit, painting, spinning, food strobe, sculpture. So, if you have a sculpture that spins, we have examples of this on YouTube and the history of motion pictures in New York. You can hit it with strobe light and it creates an animation. So, we need a sculpture. We need sculptures surrounding a suit that is also spinning. So like every limb and every everything that it's in contact with. So like brushes are spinning also, strobe, activated by strobe light. You see the animation. It's very fascinating. food that's spinning that you paint. And the suit itself can be food that you eat. So spinning strobe, animation sculpture suit. And then with that suit on, start painting spinning food, strobe sculptures. And they're so light, you know. So you have the flickers. If you get the timing right, it creates the animation. So if it spins at the right speed and the flickering of the strobe is at the right hertz, I guess they refer to it as hertz, then it creates the animation. That same suit can be used to charge batteries with every action. And then you could actually strip it of its sculpture and just be walking around charging batteries all day. You have different levers and ropes and pulleys on a smaller scale where every action collects the energy and turns small alternators that charge batteries. Kind of astonishing what I'm doing already. You think that would be a mass scale thing to do, not actions with me. We don't really need to be turning off cell phones all the time. You know, and I'm surprised at jobs and things I was doing that. There's a lot of energy that you collect and use. A lot of waste. There would be a little resistance, but not anything serious. Three-panel projection. They now call this holograms, where you have a projector and aim at the ceiling or the floor. Clear plastic catches it. Not all plastics, but a lot of plastics catch the projected image, especially if it's a little bit cloudy. Then it catches the image and you have a hologram. You have a dark background behind it though. Also be caught in smoke. But a three-panel projection is perfect for holograms. I'm surprised it's not used at theaters. Because you can actually have a movie projection through it, and then another there. I guess, you know, you don't need one projector for all three layers. You just gotta aim the projector right. Another thing down here is female-shaped microphones. That's an important innovation that we never see, especially with today's climate. And very, very tall on stage. Or even recording right now, it's very close to this. Very important for people on stage to have for males on stage to have female-shaped microphones. A lot of flack is given masculinity was taken from us by our admirals on stage, and no one will do it. They're afraid, I guess. There's that. Audiences tear people up on stage because of it. So, it doesn't have to be graphic or anything. Instead of a male-shaped microphone, you can even have a male-shaped microphone inside of a house, inside of a sculpture that is a female shape. I think that's quite important for people. But they're just not doing it, you know? And if you combine it with the projector ideas, the hologram ideas, it'd be quite nice. I think it'd be quite a good chance for people. Carpet level mechanism of light guy. So this is like a spectral signal spectrum light guy. Where like a mechanism composed of lenses of heat instead of lenses of glass, plastic, or water, focusing light to form other lenses, fueled by light. So a mechanism completely composed of light. The mechanism of this level are security sleep sensors. So while you're using lucid dreams to monitor, you have security sensors of your sleeping position and whatever else you can think of. You know, it's really important with augmented reality advancements that like we use this to protect ourselves while we sleep, because we can like seriously injure ourselves in our sleep. It's happening. I've gotten seriously injured in my sleep. Waterfall. Always wake up at the beach with soul. So you got a waterfall inside a water bottle, right next to your face when you're sleeping. You know, you got a water cup next to your bed. It's gonna be a waterfall. And the mechanism that gets it going is, you know, you can use a wind, like a windmill that pumps the water. Light waves, so it spins. So this little windmill on top of the water creates this waterfall within it, and it has like light beams right our eyes, reflection, a package design that uses refraction of light. I'll give you that in a little bit. That the package design is you're at the beach or a waterfall, so it'll cure that like craving that we always have to wake up at the beach. So all you do is just like wake up and you look inside and there is this nice waterfall. I mean, what is it really about the beach? You know, just see this thing. Why not just have it right there beside you all the time?
First step to calibrate the reading.
It should cure it.
Choice, double slit experiment, quantum eraser.
Refraction of light in the ball design.
Finding our basic binding.
At sunset.
Wave particle stream is the first step.
And sunrise.
With delayed choice, double slit.
It can catch light through the bottle and capture it in the liquid.
There's evidence in all.
It's obviously not going to be able to be clear. It's going to have to be like blue or red, because it wouldn't be very oceany if it was clear. You know, it just wouldn't seem accurate.
Trillions of lenses.
Anyway, you can make puppets with the labeling, channeling the light to be captured into the blue liquid or green liquid, whatever you want to use.
Light
And
like lasers and magnets rotate the observer.
it can create like a puppet that you can dance around and it will have like action. And it's starting to be used in bottled drinks. And it's a really good idea. And it's not expensive.
Star matrix signal.
So
arrays for double slits.
it solves a lot of things, like right out the gate there.
Build spectral external mind structure.
I guess you would have to like show how to turn the bottle cap into a windmill though, right? Like you have to have proof. It's all right there. Maybe you have to add a little bit to get the windmill to work, right? Like a whole fan or something. Freeze-dried lobster concentrate. So like lobster flavoring. There's a lot of lobster that doesn't get used when you're like you go to one of those lobster places, that serves like lobster sandwich. That's a lot of lobster that doesn't get used. Yeah, it's probably good flavoring. It's a pretty good idea to make concentrate out of that. Like a lobster seasoning. It's kind of strange that that's not a thing. Edible cobalt magnet powder floats. B12. So chewing gum that floats in magnetic box. B12 is cobalt. Cobalt is B12. And that floats. So I like the idea of a energy drink gum that can actually, the packaging is a magnet and it actually floats. So like you open this box and chewing gum is just floating in there like some sort of space food, some sort of crazy thing. Not cool. I think people would be really into that. Garden Eden wine, vine slices, apple grafts, and olives. Congo from across ancient Egypt, research, space elevator. So, the original wine vines and apple grafts and olives are still around today. So that would be a good thing to sort of hunt down. I found that the original wine, the oldest wine that they found is like north of Mesopotamia. And so that would be a place to go. And they got this one country that has something like 200 different varieties, like significantly more than other countries. So that's going to be a place that has the original wine probably. And I bet you could probably chart. I don't know, I think that would be a place to go. Apples though, I don't really know. I haven't found out where to find the original apple grafts. A lot of people saying it wasn't apples and stuff. But I'd like to have the original apple grafts because it started somewhere. Maybe that ain't Garden Eden apple. Maybe it is, I don't know. But that'd be nice to have. Also, olives, you can track the original olive tree. Because they've been splicing that and growing that on its own. So you can find the source of the original one. I'd like to find that. Also, in that research, might as well search the Congo permafrost for ancient Egypt sites on and research space elevator components and the permafrost of the Congo Mountains there, because it's a volcano also in that chain, and it has everything you need to create a space elevator. So you can magnetize soot, then with the surplus lightning zone, and the soot is created with the water source in the Nile, and then you can filter the soot aerodynamically to where it shoots almost into space, like way up there into like weather balloon area. You might have to start the space elevator with components from space first, but you can do it. You can create a space elevator with this, and with its momentum being shot up there, if you keep it sustained enough, it will, with these being so light, you'll be able to propel the aerodynamic soot into outer space.
Next cell towers points on USA with gimmicky front page retitled Cell Towers Areas News. Sketching with the towers broadcast into space guards us.
The Congo permafrost, you can find the ancient Egypt sites that are obviously going to be there.
Light equals immortalizing existence.
Through creating a matrix, like Indiana Jones.
Externalize mind and free.
Inside
travel the
hieroglyphics. So there's going to be leads to where these sites are in that permafrost. They're so obsessed with like preserving things that they will use the permafrost in the ancient Egypt, in the Congo Mountains. So if you matrix out these walls of hieroglyphics, it took generations to create just one wall, just several generations. So in that amount of time of innovation, father to son, you know, maybe they threw some daughters in there too, but usually they use males in that society, from what I understand. They would have serious innovations created over that time. So in that, they're not going to be working with a two-dimensional surface anymore. They're going to be thinking three-dimensional, and if they're working with hiding things, they're going to be hiding the map within a matrix of information. And it's already a matrix form. So that's how you find the all kinds of things, is to matrix out the hieroglyphics. So the one wall, like the three-dimensional space, like layering of the imagery evolution from one form to the next, and from that form on that wall, like all three walls, ceilings, form like the exact hieroglyphics that, like, you're gonna see that being used. And I don't think that we've done that yet. But that's a way to find things in ancient Egypt. Because for people like us, there's no way we can sit there and stare at a wall our whole lives and not think of three-dimensional. Like, we're painting three-dimensional things, and then we're going to end up wanting to build them three-dimensionally over, if not one generation, easily like our second generation. Venison adrenal glands. Venison adrenaline glands. So venison already has, I've been eating a lot of venison lately, it already has a lot of adrenaline in it, and it's noticeable compared to beef, the amount of energy that you have.
In God We Trust episode.
So, you know, venison being so, like, empowered, like, running compared to a cow,
Radio TV static.
I think beef jerky made out of the adrenaline gland is a good idea. Only problem with that is comparing it would be pretty difficult because it sits right on the kidneys.
To the source.
So
entrance level plexus.
you really got a chance of it tasting
The cellar studio.
pretty awful.
House highlighting a grill giant as night-lit tree
We have to be prepared, right? But
towering.
it would be a really good thing from like energy drink jerky.
Mapping walls.
Like literally, like beef jerky is composed of
Halloween fairs in
adrenaline
competition, earning ancient flight mainframe.
Talk about energy drink.
$500 man of the year, grandfather, clock card, and pool table, coffin coolers with meal evolving symbols,
Alcohol.
shot magnets, activating
Capsules.
beneath clear chest levels, change
The alcoholics
investing
pour it into capsules so it isn't on the breath. So alcoholics have a lot of problems that, you know, like they have to have their alcohol or they have problems, like health problems. They start shaking and get ill. And they're not allowed to drink at work or they can be fired. So a way to help them out is to have like chill capsules, you know? But instead, it's alcohol inside the capsule. So that it's not on their breath and they're not going through withdrawal symptoms too heavily. It's a good way to keep people normal, keep people safe, while people are at work who have an alcohol problem. Alcohol, from what I understand, can be used to cause cigarettes. Like if you're not a drinker and you start drinking heavily and just stop smoking, like you can conquer cigarettes, I think. That's what I've heard. I don't know. I've never tried that.
An end of time and are dealing with preserving the point at which you gain time travel that instantly gives you omnipotence. Once you're really good at
Time travel guy.
you're able to rebuild yourself.
Space, light, mechanism of this level is space-like quantum eraser, build zone, mind, lucid dreaming, same as mist. So it uses the shields of the quantum eraser experiment to build that you build to shield your mind that is absorbed through the quantum eraser experiment behind your eye, and it sends your mind like a mist. I'd like to describe that a little more here. Let's see. How do I describe that? The simple mechanism that catapults to the next horizon. So our horizon is at like 18 billion years, and that's like at the beginning. So what you do is you have a shield, a flood of light wave formed particles that deflect the particles and light waves that hit your information stream and absorb that to your rotated or built sphere, which is your wind that forms at the edge of the observable universe from here. And so that's like a direct path. It doesn't need to deflect anything because it's instantly rewritten throughout time to that source. Then, from that source, you're going to be in the past, 18 billion years in the past, and you want to go to the next horizon of current time or whatever. You're going to deflect and protect that information flow that has the shield that goes right to the source of the next horizon. And you can keep going horizon to horizon with this method. And so you can build multiple shields by hitting your source at a particular angle, just like when you play pool. So if you have several shields, you just make sure you aim it right on the dime, and it will fray the point. It will hit the pool ball. It will hit your shield, and it will fray and continue to protect your information flow. While your information flow is on the dime, on the money, deflecting. It's traveling to your next observer, your next winds, the sphere. And then, when it's time to return, you hit the same or a new observer at the edge of our 18 billion year horizon. And then you'll be at the origin of that horizon. And then you fray again to get back to us, to present day, or to whenever you want to. Because you can return before sin with this information flow. So your shield deflects all interference in the return path back to us. So the past, the strategy is, the mechanism is you go straight to the edge, then from the edge you're all the way back at the beginning of the universe, and then you can aim that to any other horizon to the next horizon. You can aim that at the next horizon, and then you have to rearrange light particles so that you're at present day in that next horizon. So you fray from our edge, which is the beginning, and absorb all distortion, and rearrange light particles to where you arrive to the current data before sin. And then you want to return, so let's just go a simple return and not worry about going further. So then you return back to our horizon, which is it's a straight shot back to the origin. And then you fray from there to get back to us at present day. You're rearranging the light particles to streamline the speed and get back to us before sin. So the mechanism is the same as projecting onto like a wall, like at the theater. Like you don't necessarily, it's just a set of mirrors. And the scan of where your next observer is going to be, like you're not going to know, but you can read whether it's returned or not and your success or not through a scan of where it potentially is. So by hitting it at different angles, by hitting our edge of observer at different angles, it will scan the next horizon for another observer at that edge. It's a lot of sky to scan, but there's ways to construct it to where you can hit a large area very quickly. So it only takes a moment to get to the next place and then return. And you know what? Once I go to a further look. I've talked about it a lot before, but this is a nice thing to describe to you. Fighter Squadron Surf Exhibit. Squadron flies toward the beach, creating a wake that gets surfed. So when squadrons, which have all kinds of like air shows and demonstrations and executing strategies all the time, when they fly low to the ground, like on the water, going at those like speeds, it creates like waves and things. I think that'd be a great thing for a surf show, like competitive surfing. You have the same exact wave. Like you could, it'd be really a good way to create a control level for a surf competition. That way you'd really know who's the best surfer, because all of them would be surfing the same exact wave every time. Especially with Air Force technology, like they know exactly the height that they would need to fly at to create the same exact wave every time. Which is the same technology they have to use all the time for wind currents and things. And I bet they have to use it for water currents as well. And tides and things. It'd be a great demonstration of how powerful the Air Force is. Water collection. 1 inch of 1 mile equals millions of gallons of water. So if you collect water from like a tarp, it can fill up a water tank real quick. And it's really a great way to be able to paint a continuous line around the world, around the U.S. You know, it's one of the ways to fill the water tank is through that. It's through rain, not only through the rivers and ocean. Solar studio with clear reflecting pool roof at ground level. I'd like to have a studio that has the ground level. The studio is underground. It's a cellar. And the roof is clear. And the clear roof has a reflecting pool on it, so that it refracts the light onto the walls that I'm creating on, and space that I'm creating in. I really like the idea of it being in a burned down house. That would be really awesome. interesting spirit level imagery through water and electrical fields. You can capture interesting spirit level-esque imagery by taking photographs through drops of water at electrical fields and places of historical significance. These are really interesting shots through refracting things. And yeah, it's just a really nice way to see things in a new light. And the electrical fields it really does do things like that. It really does. It doesn't, I'm not saying that ghosts exist or anything like that, even though we can create them like quite easily with modern technology. Like you can get really interesting like imagery that creates something that looks like a spirit of some kind. Supernatural resonance offering confinement. So there's a lot of people saying ghosts exist and things like that. Well, most of that stuff's like optical illusions and things. And it'd be nice to be able to study that with like several different methods that I've created that isolate the source of those illusions. And also, it'd be a great way to create your own illusions as a place for your externalized mind to live. Like create your own ghost. Once your mind's externalized, you know. So, I like the idea of using like, I talked about the matrixing out of hieroglyphic-esque walls. Another thing that you can do is, you don't have to use hieroglyphic walls. You can use like, cave paintings in caves themselves. And like lived in spaces and walls and marks, and layer them out in the same way that the crime investigator lays things out. I don't know, I'm kind of drawing a blank on like this mass plethora of work that I've done on optical illusions. To actually create those with modern technology. One way is with mechanisms of light created out of, then just composed out of heat instead of plastic or glass or water. One thing that often I've noticed that you can really create really interesting shadows. So it's really limitless on times that, like certain times of year, the ability to create like spiritual-esque illusions. I had this apartment complex, like I had this place in an apartment complex, and it was a townhouse or condominium or something. I don't know how to feel. Anyway, it had like some woods behind it, right? And a particular time of the year, the light when the sun set would shine through all the leaves in the woods, and it created the most fantastical like dance of shadows. It was like I've never seen anything like it before. It was like a fire and leaves. It didn't look like leaves at all, but it was like people and objects and things were dancing. It was a type of transparency from all the leaves and branches moving that's you really can't. I've never seen any way to create that. It just had the perfect amount of woods, the right angle of the light and everything to where, and the right space from the woods to the wall. There's only one wall through the light, through the window that you can see this. So there's lots of things like that happen. And people would be like, if that was a spirit, would be like, oh, that's when the person died or some kind of thing. And it wasn't. It was just this really intricate, like, scene, and people would be like, oh, that's someone's life passing before their eyes or something. So what about that? I said that supernatural residents offering confinement, matrix out hieroglyphic-esque walls created over generations, and making to find things. Search for the use of natural formation of spiritual illusions, like what might have caused the disturbance naturally with reflection of light and smoke. Also, radio frequency shielding with copper boxes. Lots of strategies to do this. Illusion of teleportation. This is a good thing. You'll enjoy. Illusion of teleportation. 3 drones towing 1 screen, and 1 drone and an extra drone tows a projector. So you have a screen and you have a projector, and they're all towed by drones. So at night, in particular, a large screen towed won't be seen. You won't be able to notice that it's a screen. And it can be right up on you, right? Like it can be right in front of you, and you wouldn't know it. And the projector is able to project illusions of teleportation at extreme speeds onto the screen in any form. So you can have like these light forms that dance around the sky really fast, or you can actually have like aircraft that like fly at you and then like all of a sudden teleport to another place, like at super speeds, and it's just a screen sitting in front of you that you can't notice that it's just a screen. This is good for decoys and camouflage leading aircraft. So the screens can arrive first and quickly hover unknown over enemy and visually cloak us and distract with whatever, drawing them 2 parts of the sky and away from and wherever we need them. Universe Travel Guide. Mechanism of the level is space-like quantum ray surveillance zone with mind lucid dreaming sent as mist. So with the quantum racer experiment, it's focused on starlight, we're able to arrive before sent to anywhere thought and any thought throughout time. So that's heavy. One thing about it is that there are no parallel universes created. So those only exist in our mind as like a deja vu, because it kind of has a resilience because I think because of the bending of the light in our minds is so heavy so much bending going on in our brain's perception that has resilience. And it's not a very good resilience because we barely recognize the difference, from what I can tell. So, the U.S. intelligence is first in this. Is first in time travel with the quantum eraser experiment. And if you build really well and they approve of it, they might actualize it. They might actually let it happen. And it would be imperceivable. Potentially, it would be imperceivable. Maybe they'll let you know, maybe not. Whether you have success or not. Okay. Control experiment on the opposite side of the moon. Michael Collins is the first to be available for and to perform experimentation with the perfect control experiment when he got the information of the moon vibrations and disturbances with his isolation and uncontaminated Earth vibrations now isolated. So he's the first to have the ability to conduct proper atom studies and things in perfect isolation of Earth and the moon. Theoretically, his work led to the creation of the most powerful weapon on Earth and vastly streamlined perception of the universe with X-rays, etc. And our use of the quantum eraser experiment focused on starlight. So they had no idea what the moon's level was. You know, like the magnet, the electricity, the light, the gravity, the atom behavior. All we had was only Earth. So Buzz and Neil were logically with these types of experiments we think are unable to perform those because of the levels that got contaminated, though they were the ones who were able to conduct the experiments that created the to measure the vibrations and interference with the atom experiments, etc. I bet if I look up Collins compared to Buzz, he was actually the first to walk on the moon because shoes are shoes, and the lander's shoes walk when he controlled the landing. Like, it didn't land like straight on all four. Like, it walked, and he walked it. Like, that's literally how it landed. Like, it's impossible for it to have just, like, sat on four. Like, it walked. And Neil was the first to have himself at that level of closeness to the moon. Anyway, I bet if you look up Collins compared to the rest of them, that he's probably going to have a stronger science background. I don't know, though. I'd have to check. Hashtag Dear Moon Project. So there's this guy who's sending artists around the moon with Elon Musk. And my idea is to project onto ice crystals that form on the windows and fall off the spacecraft and whatnot. And by projecting onto the ice crystals, it burns images onto the ice crystals that are then flying out into space and flying onto the moon. And you can also potentially, well, I guess you can't really do that. It's kind of a distance. But by projecting your work onto the ice crystals, you know, you're really sending your work into outer space. Though I guess that the only hope for the survival of it is the imprint of the projected onto the dust into the moon. Because once it hits the heat of outer space in the sun, direct light, like it's bye-bye. You know, those things are gone. So that's a thing. So the goal of my invention here for the Dear Moon, the hashtag Dear Moon project, is to hit the Earth, no, hit the moon with these ice crystals when it's on the dark side of the moon, so that the ice crystals, because I'm hoping that there's no burn up of the ice crystals on re-entry into the moon surface, and that when they plummet or gently float to the surface of the moon, that it leaves a nice imprint. I know they'll be super small, but you know, with technology, maybe one day we'll be able to see them. You know, you never know. And theoretically, they're going to hit it, and they're going to be preserved if that's the way that ice floats to the moon. If it floats gently to the surface, like snowflakes, then we got it. Space elevator model. Watered volcano soot aerodynamically filtered into lightning surplus zone. So there's two places on Earth that I've found that have lightning surplus zones capable of creating space elevator. One is the Congo volcano. It has the right type of soot that can be created from the lava, and it has a water source to create the soot with. The other is the Philippines. It doesn't have as much lightning though, and you need the lightning because that magnetizes the soot. They call it magnesia stones. Weather balloon platform towing model rockets launching cells to space. So we got a space elevator that we can build out of soot, and you could collect like you could collect small particles into space with that if you keep pumping this soot that's aerodynamically formed, like it was one of those maple trees with the winged seeds. Just shoot them up into outer space, and you can charge it to go further into space, into the atmosphere, by a downdraft. So by falling, it activates the fan up into the sky. The falling soot powers the aerodynamic formed magnets further into space. And then once you get, then those can be towing to when there's no atmosphere to escape the gravity of the Earth. So it tows within itself. The formation tows the object to the edge, and then is able to get further out. through that mechanism. So we got a weather balloon platform towing model rockets, launching cells to space. So people are often building $5,000 model rockets, right? And they launch them into space. They don't actually get to space yet. Maybe they've made it by now. It's called the Rocket Mavericks. But the weather balloon platform can be created. So you can tow, you wouldn't have to spend $5,000 on the rocket, I don't even think. And you could get into outer space with the thing. Because they don't take advantage of the ceiling height of weather balloons. So you get a whole bunch of weather balloons together to tow the model rocket to the furthest reaches, and once those weather balloons go, that activates the model rocket to launch into space. And you can send cell phones into outer space that way. All day. Real cheap. All you need is some weather balloons. And I think you can home make those. I think you have to home make those rockets anyway, right? But I guess at this point, they probably have mass-produced rockets. They have mass-produced model rockets that you can use. They send it right into outer space. I really don't know. But I know that that's quite a bit of a save of money is to use model rock, is to use a platform of weather balloons. We can send all kinds of little creatures out there too with cell phones. You have little flies in space, you know, like little gnats with the cell phone. Oil depletion coping mechanisms. Suit that charges batteries. Bicycle with a car alternator, charging battery and or running a Tesla coil powering things pass by on the ride. Oil depletion coping mechanisms. Your car alternator can be used to create electricity with the bicycle, and you can hand crank it to create electricity that you can store in batteries. So if you attach an alternator to your bicycle, and then you attach a battery to that, it'll absorb the electricity formed when you pedal around. That's a pretty good oil depletion coping mechanism. Suit that charges batteries. So you can have a suit on with cords that also charge alternators, like you see with camping gear sometimes, where you wind up little brushes in there that creates the friction that creates the electricity that gets stored by a battery that powers a light bulb. That process can be used in a suit at pivotal points, so that when you're moving around, like you move your arms, it charges, it creates that same friction. And charges your cell phone, for example. Or the lights you're going to need to use that night when you go when you have to do things at night. Or you get enough charge throughout your work during the day that you'll be able to power your computer for a while. Bicycle with a car alternator charging battery and or running a Tesla coil, powering things pass by on the ride. I think it would be a really fascinating thing to see. I'd like to build this. A regular old bicycle with a car alternator on it that charges a battery and continue to like cut your power bill and imprint by using alternators that no longer work on your car, but would easily work to do this. Or maybe that wouldn't work. Maybe it has to be a brand new one. But I know there's still some life in those old ones. And you can also power a Tesla coil through this. That would be really cool. So that when you pass by other electrical things, electrical lightning shoots off the Tesla coil and turns on a light bulb when you're passing by it. That'd be kind of cool. That'd be really cool that on the ride, if you had a whole mass of people flooded into town and you had shifts, people passing by on the Tesla coil bicycles end up powering all the electricity that the people working inside the buildings need. That'd be kind of a fascinating thing. Maybe get animals in on it too, Have these animals on bicycles and animals in these suits that charge batteries and things. It's quite possible to run a society out of that. Anyway, it would look cool to have a bicycle that rides around a space or something and powers all kinds of gadgets when it passes by. Firing synapse guy. The mechanism of this level is external mind structuring and mechanism of light built with screen hand heat on the cell phone. So your hand on a cell phone in the cold creates a lens of heat that then focuses light through the lens and creates another lens of heat. It's just a simple basic building block of building a mechanism of light. A and I are not the only words in the AI, and the and symbol are not the only words in the alphabet. You can, it's often said that there's only a few words, but and that would be A, the letter A, the letter I, and the and symbol, which was like originally the included in the alphabet. It isn't anymore. So, but there's a lot more if you consider the like two letters next to each other as a word, which our English alphabet was created for one purpose, and that was to write the Bible out. Like the formation of our alphabet was made in its current form to be able to write the Bible. So they're thinking really intricately like about it, and they knew what the end result was for this system, and that was it ends up telling the story. Like if you look at the words that are formed by like A and I, no, that are formed like almost there's like several. It tells a story of the devil getting kicked out of heaven by God. It's very interesting. I'll pull up a reference here. One moment. So the alphabet was built in BC 1300 through AD 1500, and there's a lot of words in here, and I thought it was strange that folks weren't calling it out. You know, like with words like "oh," like as in like "oh brother, where art thou?" Because "oh" is actually a word. You know, the letter "o" is a word. It's not really used anymore, but it's still a word. So if you put the "and" symbol next to next to the A, that would be part of this story here of God. It's like the title of the story, and it's a very quick conversation here. So it's literally a title, then the devil, then God, and then the devil being kicked out. So it starts out like it's formed from the "and" symbol, and then A, and then A, and then A with the B, which is the word ab, and then B with the letter C, which is the word BC, and then the letter C with the letter D, which is the word CD, which back in the day, CD was formed, it's not compact disc, but a certificate of deposit. And then you have H next to I, which is high, and then you have I, and then you have N next to O, which is no, then you have O, then you have O next to P, which is op, then you have S next to T, which is street, and then you have T next to U, which is two, and then you have U next to V, which is UV, and you have V next to W, which is VW, and then you have Y, then you have Z, and then you have the word and symbol. So it ends up forming this story that's titled A Father / Abdomen because an ab is also the word for father. So a father / abdomen before Christ compact disc. The before Christ certificate of deposit. And so then Lucifer says hi. This is the start of the story. Lucifer says hi. Then God says I. And then there's several indecipherable. Yeah, so like you have the title, right? And then there's several undefined letters representing like God's omnipotence, like describing the story in more detail. But we don't know. We don't know what that is yet. Maybe we have plans for it, maybe not, I don't know. Anyway, then Lucifer says hi. And then God says I, and there's several undefined letters to words representative of God's omnipotence. So that, like, we can't understand it. It's so advanced. And then Lucifer speaks again and cuts him off while he's speaking. And he's disagreeing with them. He says, no, oh Op Street, you ultraviolet light Volkswagen and sleep. And that's him like being kicked out of heaven. Like he says no, and then he gets hit, and it's like, oh. And then he's like cursing at him. And then he gets knocked out, or he's telling him to go to sleep, or he's in hell at that point. I like the idea that this being an artificially intelligent algorithm, so that like, you know, it naturally like forms. It's kind of far-fetched, but that like by all of us like using this thing that was built to do a certain thing, tell a certain story, like, you know, self-actualizes good, you know, and good guys win. I like that. It's like an artificial intelligence. It's possible, I guess. I don't know. Maybe not. Matrix sleep states plugged of when you're plugging you into the system. So there's the Matrix, right? It described a story of how we're all being used as batteries, and that's actually accurate, but it's not about power. Like, we're not being used as power. Like, how we're saving power is our brains are creative problem solving super efficiently. So, and when we're asleep, like you can't build a computer like that can create problem solve like us without spending a lot of money and using a lot of energy, much more than our brains use. So when we're asleep with lucid dreams, you can plug that into a system and it can fix things in like a factory or in a computer code. Our creativity can be used just like in the Matrix, like we get plugged into the Matrix, and maybe that's why we don't remember a lot of our dreams. Is because we work on like all kinds of problem-solving things. Anyway, I know for a fact that's going on. That our brains are capable of being plugged in, and probably are being plugged in into computer programs when we're asleep to we're like factory working. And that's our primary value, I think, in our current state, is that we go to work every day to be self-sufficient and buy our food, and if we're good enough at what we're doing when we're asleep, we get, or like everything that happens to us while we're awake is used to form our brains when we're sleeping for the right, so that we're in the right mindset in our sleep state, dream state, plugged into whatever system to maintenance those things there. Because you can't create a computer with this creative problem solving without spending a lot of money. Pyramid eagle on the back of the dollar bill. So the pyramid on the back of the dollar bill and the eagle is really interesting combination there. So you can create, like originally the pyramid, like the word pyramid in Egyptian is actually translated as earthbound star. Earthbound stars. And so they got these glowworms in Morocco, and you could cover the pyramids in glowworms, and then eagles could eat them off, and like that would be this like all-seeing eye kind of like experience. Another thing about the pyramids there that people want to talk about is that they're covered in limestone, and that can create beer when it rains on them. So when it was raining on them, they could, like, it was a big deal. Like, it's like, oh, there's that big thing in the distance. We can go over there and have this party with all these glowworms on there, like creating this thing. And then when it's done and it starts raining, because they timed it perfectly to the rain season, they got like this beer fest, like drinking lots of beer that's created, alcohol that's created off the flow of the water, off the limestone. Anyway, it's a pretty interesting thing there. Ancient flight mainframe. So there's lots of evidence of right-angled satellites and indigenous artwork that is in the skies. So, like, it's in every culture they have like these right-angled things depicted in their artwork that is in the sky, floating in the sky, like the satellite that we have present day. And there's a lot of time between the Ice Age, the last Ice Age, and then the creation of modern society, like the first cities and stuff. And that's very strange, because as individuals, we invent a lot of stuff. We invent a lot of things. And so it's I think that's a way to create a peace. Is to unite all to like Judaism through ancient flight mainframe evidence, because Judaism was like one of the first. It's like it's the oldest religion, and the oldest cities like one of the oldest cities. They say there's some older cities than Babylos, I think is what they call it. But it's an ancient city, and I think that it's a satellite city, and I think we'll be able to create a world peace if we can find evidence of similar, like of these satellite structures. Because I have this idea that like people naturally collect into search for wisdom in things, you know. So they would like travel, like in this ice age, like the smartest people would survive, and then they would naturally gather in that area of above Mesopotamia. I think it's in like the Turkmenistan desert, from what I was reading and what I've seen on Google and stuff. And it could be people trying to steer me wrong, but I'm not, and I'm probably not the only person who thinks this. But yeah, if we find evidence of it, then be a sure way to world peace. And it's so easy to externalize. I mean, it's like a vast number of years of like super collaboration. So let me read my notes here of what I got about it. Where is this? Ancient flight mainframe made of wise men, Sandman, our cheap minds' creative computing, immortalizing existence. Founding fathers, World Trade Center, site Russia, calling origination Turkmenistan. Many outline Mayan murals, metallic satellites, extreme tech gaps over us, engineering all supernatural news. So it really, ancient flight mainframe, composed not of aliens, because aliens are disproven by the quantum racer experiment. Like intelligent life beyond our own is disproven by the powerfulness of the quantum racer experiment, which I've talked about before. These all leads us to know that whether it's time travel or not, that wise men, ancient wise men, because there's this time gap in society and when our brains were exactly what they are today, that there's enough time there to have created a society that, and I don't necessarily think that it'd be this mass society. I think originally it probably was like all the wise, like a really smart guy went around collecting wise people, right? And then these people end up building computers, right, and flight, and they end up building like externalizing their minds eventually and creating like an ancient flight mainframe. So like they create this, they create satellites, and they're not like mass, they're not like flooding, you know. I think that it's just like one city, I think, because it's very inclusive. Like you have to be super wise or expelled. You know, maybe not. You know. like they end up doing the Sandman thing, like finding that like you can plug your brains into it, and then they figure out like, hey, we need as many people as possible creative problem solving to be able to like immortalize existence, which is the meaning of life. And that's found like really quickly, like you don't have to have any technology at all to take a look at life and know that the meaning of life is immortalizing existence. It'd kind of be nice to have that separation between this like thing we see in the movies and like what is the meaning of all life, you know. Like they kind of say it's like, oh, it's impossible, it's just a joke. It is really basic to figure it out. It takes a second, but it's really basic. So, when I was at the World Trade Center, I was like searching the map for, when I was going to the World Trade Center complex, I was searching Google Maps for the origin, you know, of where it might actually be the original city. And it looks like there's this like strange thing in the Turkmenistan desert where it looks like Russia is citing a place. Like it's randomly in Turkey, and then all of a sudden they have like some Russia thing. Like it has this like strange marking on the map that calls out this place. And if you zoom in on it, it has like this strange character that's probably not really there. But they do that all the time. Anyway, I think it would be something interesting to go see. And then right beside there, they have this like crater, you know, that, and it's going to be buried, and it's still going to be functioning. So, like it's still going on, because a society of wise men, like, theoretically never fails. Like, it's not going to fail. You know, so that's still in existence today. And the original guy is immortal, and he made some other guys, and I'm sure they put a cap on it because you can't, you know, because we'd be flooded in it, you know, and it seems like it was exclusive anyway because we'd have all kinds of stuff like that around. Maybe not. Maybe that's what it is right now, you know. Anyway, I know that city more than likely exists. And that type of city exists anyway, because we have time travel, you know. So, we got that. Anyway, we have many murals, indigenous artwork that depict metallic satellites with like right angles. It's not like they're depicting plasma or asteroids or comets. Like they got these squares in the sky. That's really interesting. And we know it's not aliens. We know it's us. So we know it's either time travel, which we know exists, because it's recorded on rockets, and the quantum eraser experiment rewrites light waves to particles around time to the source. So if you get really good at it, you're able to do things like that. And by that existing, it kind of that extreme tech gap, which already exists. Extreme tech gaps already exist between what the government has and what we have. So, like, where that tech gap ends, it's not far-fetched, because what we have, like with computers, is nothing compared to what the government has with computers. And then what the government has is nothing compared to what the Air Force has with computers. And so have could be, where does it end? Where does the line end? Like, where does history end? Does it continue to go way back into the past where the Air Force can already go anyway? That's what I'm saying. So, that's how that works. So that kind of like engineers all supernatural news, like that tech guy. So you can't. There really isn't anything supernatural, and we've always like any kind of thing. Like there's no aliens because we can build it. Like any kind of like crazy thing that you see, like we've always been like there's no one older. There's no one alive today that wasn't alive when at least radio was around. You've always been submerged in like the ability to create illusions. So that completely like takes away the idea that there could be any kind of like crazy thing beyond. Like it's not gonna be like werewolves or ghosts or like vampires or anything like that. There's no aliens because Occam's razor cuts all that out if you can naturally explain it with technology and illusions and pranks and things. So, yeah. The design of a hospital bed or deathbed neutralizes the lack of control in a 360 YouTube experience. So you need to have a successful viewing that's not painful in a 360 video on YouTube. You got to ground. You gotta add, like, you gotta be a passenger in a car, which that video that one actually won some sort of Grammy of some sort. Not a Grammy, but the thing you get for TV, an Emmy. Yeah. So you gotta have, like passenger in a hot air balloon, something like that, where you can't move around, you can look around. Otherwise, you get irritated at what you're looking at. This is a dark subject here. Either morphine overdoses you, or your heart tears it up. So on your deathbed, either morphine overdoses you, your heart overdoses your heart and tears it up, or the pain convulsions use the brain's oxygen until its ability to beat the heart dies. So you got two ways going at the end of your life. And this is why you should never use any kind of like morphine or any kind of painkiller like that. Because you're going to need it at the end of your life so that the doctors know what they're doing and don't overdose you. And so that your heart is strong, Because you want to make sure they're on the dime about it so that you don't overdose. Or so that the pain convulsions that you naturally get, even if you're not conscious, don't asphyxiate your brain until your ability to beat the heart dies. That's the only way you're going on that hospital bed, is either being murdered or accidentally dying by morphine, or committing suicide through morphine, or the natural way, which is where the pain convulsions, like the muscle contractions that happen unconsciously from the pain, end up burning up all your brain's oxygen until it can't beat the heart. Because they can throw you on the oxygen machine and have your lungs going, but once that heart goes, that's it. You ain't gonna be able to. You can only get so many shocks in it before you're done, you know. But you got that oxygen machine. You can go for a long time, pumping air into your system. It's just like pumping. You know, there's a lot about it I don't know, but that's what it is right there. You know, people trying to say that there's other things that stop working. There's really not. You can literally decapitate yourself, you know, except for the part that makes your heart work, and you'd be good to go. You know, as long as you got all the stuff, pumping the stuff, and making the stuff work. Theoretically, that's all you need. It's just like your heart beating. I don't know. Sounds right. Maybe not to that extent, but it sounds right. Oh yeah, the sound of the news shows. This is kind of fascinating here. The sound of the news shows is criminals watching to see if they are caught. So, on the news shows, they got this like high-pitched like screech. It's almost like something bad. And you don't even know, like, there's no way really to tell the difference between a news show and regular TV. Right? Like, how do you know it's not just like there's a sound in it that like, you know that sound is like criminals watching to see if they are caught. I don't know, it's a theory I got. And it's pretty accurate. I don't know, see if you notice the same thing. It's kind of fascinating. And it's also, people are thinking that like it's also the sound of victims looking to see if the criminals are caught. Not so much. You know, I don't think it's so much that as much as criminals watching to see if they've been caught yet. There's a lot more criminals watching. It's got this very devious sound to it. It's really funny. It just sounds so devious and awful. And it's just like a guy or a woman talking, you know. Like this background noise in there. It's like watching a horror movie.